What is going on, gamers? Today we're going to go ahead and touch up on a couple of other things for newer accounts to focus on, and this time we're going to focus mainly on equipment, talents, and heroes, specifically which heroes you want to focus on early. Now when it comes to equipment, there is a lot of options that you can look towards. If you take a look at each type, there is quite a bit, but there's only a couple that you should really focus on, and there's a filter that you can actually take a look at, and the ones that you mainly want to take a look at early on is construction and research speed. The reason for that is because early on, a lot of times you're not really going to have to be going out there attacking castles or whatever. The main priority for you is to build up your castle, build up your research. So the quicker you do it, the better for you. And that's why construction and research is the main focus on that you're going to have. So let's take a look at construction, right? There is quite a few in some areas and very few in another. So if you take a look at Helm and you take a look at Offhand, there's really not a lot of options there. But if you take a look at the chest plates, there's more options. Well, here's the thing, right? Some of these are way better than others, and I'll give you a perfect example, right? Now, generally speaking, a lot of these like lower level ones, the level 9s, you got the level 3s, etc. Those are not worth making simply because you're going to outlevel them almost instantly. The ones that you should start thinking about are the ones that are in the level 35 range, etc., a little bit higher, because those are the ones that are going to have more staying power for you, because the early levels you just breeze right through and you don't really start slowing down until you get to like maybe the 40s. The 50s is where it'll really slow down, but you know, from here till then it's a bit. So the really low level ones, the level 3s, level 7s, etc., you can just go ahead and skip those altogether and move on to the ones that are in the 35 or 40s. Now, some of these, like for instance, if you go over to research, some of these require you to get only pay-to-play materials, which is all fine and dandy if you want to go that route. Now, remember, you don't have to get these things, so these would just be a nice additional bonus. But also, do remember that some of these things you can get from hunting monsters. So if you're able to get one of these drops from a hunting monsters, build the item, even if it's silver, because it is going to be a nice boost for you. But if you take a look at some of these, right, and you take a look at, for instance, the accessories. You got the level 9 accessory, which is research speed. Gold, you got 5%. And then as you keep going up, you get a little bit more, 9.5, 11.5, and all the way up to 26%. Now, the reason we don't like building these early level ones is because if you take a look at these at gold, 5%, if you just make the lunar flute, even a green, it's already better. And it doesn't require much for you to get it to green. So already at green, it's going to be outperforming a lot of these at gold. So for research, the lunar flute is one of the main things you want to go ahead and focus on to get as much as you can. And the materials that you need are not even that hard to come by. Like for instance, for the flute, you can actually get all of these materials by simply just gathering. Because when you start gathering, whether it's rocks, wood, ore, etc., when you come back, when that gatherer comes back, it has a chance to actually give you some of these materials. So the more you gather, the more resources you're going to have to upgrade your buildings and your research, and the more materials you can possibly have to upgrade a lot of these materials. So the ones that I for sure would make sure that you focus on is the lunar flute for the research, and then for construction speed, you actually want to do the same thing with the accessories, but it'll be the sentinel circlet. These are the ones that you absolutely want to focus on, even if it's early on. By the time you can put them on, even if you got to put on 3 blues, it's going to be such a huge boost. So these other ones, they're okay, but I would save all my materials to making sure that I get some of these. And then if you can also make some of these extra ones, the Griffin's Talons, for instance, that you get from monster hunting, even better. But just make sure that you have these 2 accessories, a Sentinel Circlet, and then for research, you got the Lunar Flute. Because they are not only going to be there for you pretty much valuable most of your game, if not always, but it's going to give you a huge boost early on. As far as other items, I would not recommend making any items for any sort of war-related things, like for instance, anything that gives you trap attack or army defense, or anything that give you actual stats like cavalry, infantry, etc. until you're later on in the game, because these these things are not only going to be falling off and not be useful very quickly, but those materials that you use on that you can use to build something else that would be much more beneficial, like for construction or research or whatever it may be. So for war related stuff, I really wouldn't focus that until you're probably in the 40 to 45 level, because anything below that you're probably just going to be wasting your time to build anyways. Now we get to talents. Now with talents, you do get some talents every time you leveled up, and the way that I usually take a look at this is, if you start on the left hand side where it says squad offense and you go down from there, that's pretty much like the military side of things. And because we're newer to the game and most of what we're going to be doing is building, you want to stay more on the right hand side of the tree, which is the one that starts with food production. Now what you normally want to do is you want to go on down the line and unlock things until you can get to construction speed 1 and research speed 1. You want to go ahead and max those out as soon as you can, because like I said early on, construction and research is the name of the game, and these are going to give you a nice boost. 40% here and then 40% there. That goes a long way. Now once you go ahead and do that, all you got to do is just keep going down, not really maxing anything, but just getting enough to unlock the next one down the line. And you keep doing that until you get down to here, construction speed and research. Now once you're down here, construction speed 2 and research 2, you once again want to do the same thing. You want to max them all out. Whether you max construction speed first and then move on to research, or you do research and then move on to construction, or do them all together. I guess it depends on what you want to do, but the end goal is the same. You want to get them both maxed out, because once maxed out, you get an additional 65% on each, and that means that you're getting over 100% boost to your research and your construction. Now once you go ahead and you take care of that, those are the most important things. From there you can go ahead and decide if you want to go ahead and put your rest of the points into gathering, which will make you get more resources faster and also maybe get more materials faster, since you're going to be gathering faster. If that's so, you can just continue down the line and get some gathering 2 and max load. And also up here there is some more gathering that you can actually get right here, gathering 1 and max load. So if you want to go more the gathering route after you do that, then you can go ahead and do that as well. The other thing that you can do is, once you finish that, come on over to the left hand side and then start unlocking training speed 1, and if you can, which this will be much later down the line, training speed 2, because this essentially will allow you to build your troops faster and more troops, meaning that you can clear the skirmishes faster. It means that you can train your troops faster to gather more, etc., etc. So whichever way you want to go about it, you have the options, but just remember that the research and the construction talents are the ones that you want to prioritize. Nothing else matters until you get these maxed out. Then from there you can kind of branch out and do your own thing. Now let's go ahead and talk heroes, because heroes is a huge part of this game. Whether it's for attacking, Coliseum, monster hunting, it doesn't matter. Heroes are usually involved. So when you're just starting out, you're going to get a lot of new heroes that you're going to be like, okay, well, I don't know which one to really focus on. I don't want to waste my time on a hero that maybe you're not going to use later on, etc. So, and this, since there's so many, it can be a little confusing as to which one you really want to spend time taking up. But do not worry. This is why we're here. We're going to guide you in the right direction. Now, early on, these are the heroes that you're going to see. And of course, like I said, once you go through chapters and you start clearing them, you're going to unlock more and more. But early on, the one that you mainly want to focus on is this Prima Donna, because she's going to be your healer for a majority of your run through the hero chapters and in a lot of other things. So Prima Donna is one that you always want to make sure that you're keeping up to date. The other one, like Oathkeeper, this is a great tank really early on, but he will fall off later on. So it's okay to take him up for the first couple of chapters, but just know that he will start falling off later. So I wouldn't worry about keeping him way up to date too much. And then the next one is Snow Queen. Snow Queen is another one that you are going to be using quite a bit, mainly because her hero skill, this one right here, inflicts freeze for 5 seconds. And that is a huge stun that you're going to need for stunning bosses, interrupting, etc. So this is something that you're always going to need. Even if you don't use her in every stage, This will always come handy whenever you need that extra stun, that extra crowd control, etc. So always will be good to keep up with Snow Queen. Now there are a couple of other ones that are pretty good, and especially like the ones that I have here, Sage of Storm, Seth Archer, Night Raven. Those are fairly good, but again, they will start falling off earlier than you would like. So since I don't have any other heroes to show you here, I'm going to go over to my main account and show you some of the other heroes that you're going to get pretty soon that you for sure want to keep up with. Okay, now that we're on my main account, let me go ahead and start talking about some of the heroes that you're going to be unlocking soon and the ones that you for sure want to keep up with because they are invaluable. Number 1, Rose Knight. Now, when you're new, Rose Knight is offered as a first purchase and you get to unlock her at Gray. I would 100% suggest you do that because this hero you don't really get until you get to 612 Elite, which is pretty far into the game. So if you want to unlock her before then, definitely do that. But once you get to 612 Elite, that's when you for sure want to make sure that you try to max her out as much as you can because she is, till this day, one of the best heroes in the game. So as soon as you can get her, get her. Now, Tracker is going to be another one that you're going to get fairly early on. And Tracker is pretty much just like a damage dealer that comes with a stun. And her main ability is just a huge one-shot ability that does a lot of damage. So as you can tell, that would be very useful when going up against the bosses in the 3rd stage of hero chapters, etc. And she's actually another good hero for other things like Coliseum, monster hunting, etc, etc. So Tracker's another one that you absolutely want to make sure that you keep up with. Demon Slayer. He is a demon. Not only is this one of the better infantry heroes that you can send out in battle, but his hero skills are really good. He specializes on taking down mages and also deals quite a bit of damage and a silence, which again, mages don't like seeing Demon Slayer on the field. So definitely a hero to make sure you keep up with because it gives you another option, gives you an assassin type on your team, and again, will be really good for other things like Coliseum, monster hunting, and things like that. So Demon Slayer for sure is one that you want to get. You won't be able to get him until 315 Elite, or at least to farm more of him. So he's not going to come super early on, but that's still something to keep in mind. Now, Child of Light. Now, this one is one that, again, you're going to get a little bit later as far as being able to get more medals. That's going to be 415 Elite. But he is one of the better tanks for sure in the chapters because he comes with a huge stun for an ultimate. And also unlocks, he'll be able to give your magic dealers more damage because of this right here. Holy Judgment reduces magic defense by 240 from the enemy, which is huge. So Child of Light, if you put him right next to Rose Knight as a 2-tank combo, they're going to be doing really, really well. And it will take you very, very far. Death Knight also comes to mind when we're talking about tanks because although Death Knight is not as tanky as some of the other ones, his ability to resurrect and with an increased attack is amazing. He comes back and starts hitting like a truck. So even though he will go down faster than most other tanks, his offensive ability kind of makes up for that. So he will be a nice addition to a team that needs a little bit extra damage, etc. For sure a good one. And then, of course, the last one I'm going to mention here is Black Crow, just because she brings a huge AoE, which is huge for hero chapters. But she also brings Piercing Arrow that reduces defense by 420, which is a lot. And it makes your physical attackers just do a truckload of damage. So she's always going to be a good option. Now, there are some honorable mentions that I want to mention here, like Bombing Goblin, but mainly specifically because of his battle skills. Army attack 20%. That's the only hero that's free to play outside of Rose Knight that'll give you army stats. So definitely want to keep in mind. And also, you want to take a look at Trickster, if I can find them right here. Trickster is not one that you would actually take into battle, because in battle it's not really going to do much for you. But in general, what he brings, research speed, max energy, and energy regeneration, they're going to be really, really good and something you want to have at the end. So I would definitely take him up, if not necessarily for any sort of war-oriented stuff, but just for your account in general. So those are the ones that I would suggest you keep track of. Now, the good thing is that there is no real hero here that I would consider bad, because the thing about it is, that every hero shines in different situations. So just because one hero isn't good at a specific thing doesn't mean that it wouldn't be good on something else. So just keep in mind, this is one of the few games that I can generally say that there's really no bad hero. There's really not. Every hero can shine if the situation is right. So just keep that in mind. But the ones that I mentioned are the ones that I would suggest you make sure you keep up with and try to upgrade as soon as possible. Now that brings us to the last thing I want to mention, and that is the Hell event and the solo events. The solo events, these are things that every couple of hours will reset, and it'll tell you what you need to do. For instance, right now it's train soldiers and buildings, and the Hell event is the same, but the Hell event only lasts for an hour. So look how it's going to change right here. Boom. So this one is only train soldiers. Now, here is the thing, right? With these Hell events and the solo events, a lot of times what you want to do is if you have something that you're going to upgrade, whether it's research, building, etc., a lot of times it's worth to just wait for a Hell event or a solo event to be it's going on in order to finish that, in order to get these extra rewards, right? And then there's a step further than that, which is the 24-hour challenge, and it's kind of like a bigger solo and Hell event that will last all day. And if you finish it, you can generally get things that you can actually use to finish some items, some equipment and things like that. So if you're going to be finishing a big research, a big building, etc., maybe it's best for you to wait until you can take advantage of the solo and the Hell events and things like that in order for you to finish that. Also, a thing to note is that every Hell event, depending on your castle level, might have different requirements. So for instance, on my main account, you see this Hell event, train troops. The amount of points that I need to finish it on my main account is 420,000. Now, my main account is max level, castle 25. Now when I go to the other account, you're going to see that the Hell event here is actually different. It's building, and there is actually less points required because depending on your castle level is the type of Hell event that you're going to be getting. So it should always be about the same thing that as you're leveling up. So if your castle level 15, 17, the Hell event and the solo event would generally be about the same. So just something to keep in mind as you're building up your castle, to take a look at the solo events, take a look at your research and all of that, and see if it's something that you can actually do. So yeah, make sure that you're always keeping an eye on solo events, Hell events, etc. That way you know if it's going to be worth waiting to finish one up, or if you can just go ahead and finish it and keep it moving. But yeah, hopefully these tips help you out starting out and keep you from making some of the mistakes that a lot of other people early on will make. But yeah, appreciate you guys for coming through, and until later, bye.